Hello and welcome back to Dumpsite, a podcast about movies. My name is Felix and I'm your host. It's good to be back. I was gone for a while. I got married. I had my honeymoon. I had to get back to work. We still only have 4 minutes and 20 seconds though, so let's get started. Today we are discussing Fright Night from 2011, directed by Craig Gillespie, starring Anton Yelchin, Colin Farrell, Imogen Poots, Toni Collette, while also featuring McLovin, David Tennant, and Dave Franco. Fright Night follows Charlie, played by Anton Yelchin, who, after being convinced by some disappearing friends and very obvious clues, comes to realize that his neighbor, played by Colin Farrell, is a vampire. And while in the city of Las Vegas, he must partner with resident vampire Peter Vincent, played by David Tennant, in order to save his girlfriend Imogen Poots and Toni Collette, who plays his mom. I do have to start this off by saying I had no idea Anton Yelchin passed away in 2016 until researching this film. I remember seeing him for the first time in Charlie Bartlett, a 2007 film where he plays a rebellious outcast teen in high school that sells drugs to other high school students, which I remember loving. So it's really sad to see someone at such a young age pass away in such a tragic way. So I'm sorry, Anton, for what I'm about to say, because you were awesome. But this film is entertaining at the very most, driven by its simplicity and relying on an era of post-Jennifer's Body at the same year as Cabin in the Woods. It's lacking the depth and gore to really create that cult following that those other films had, trying hard to rely on the films being made during that time though, and McLovin fame post-Superbad. Now, I'm not trying to be harsh. I remember loving this film at the time I watched it as a kid. I was the target audience, and watching this again for the first time for the podcast in a while really changed my perspective after obviously being a little bit more interested in films and a local in Vegas now. The main thing I want to rant about this film is how bad it tries to be in Vegas outside of the Strip. Obviously, it has B-roll of that, but the entire Strip, including the casino they are in, is shot in New Mexico. And the reason why they really had this in their excuse for having it in Vegas, even though it's shot there, is due to the fact that Colin Farrell can hide being a vampire, being a casino dealer, working the graveyard shift at casinos, and sleeping all day, which is how he stays away from glittering in the sun. But if I'm being honest, we really don't want your shitty movies that are fake Vegas. I'm sure there are a few dozen jobs that he could cover under late night shifts. They could have stayed in New Mexico, where Colin Farrell's is a graveyard shift 7-Eleven cashier, and now it's a wholesome small town vibe. But not to get off topic, I just hated this part of the film so much, and I know it's not the first or last film to take place in a different part of the world. It's just blatantly terrible in the suburbs area and whatnot. Another aspect of this film I really hated was the fact that people come back from being a vampire. So when Charlie defeats Colin Farrell, since he turned his girlfriend and Dave Franco into a vampire, they get to come back to life, which is just kind of cheesy and honestly lame. I don't know what type of vampires do that. I think that's it for bashing the production of this film. The only reason this film is really entertaining is because of the cast, starting with David Tennant, who played Peter Vincent. He also was in Harry Potter, playing Barty Crouch Jr. in Harry Potter 4. He was awesome. I loved when he said, "Ginger!" You also have Dave Franco, because I think this is honestly the character he based his 21 Jump Street character off of, except turned woke. And then Toni Collette, as I mentioned, our favorite cinema mother. I know it sounds like I hated this film, but as I mentioned, it's entertaining, mainly driven by the cast and some funny parts. Everything else is cheesy and trying too hard while missing. Moving on to the important things, my rating 2.75 would honestly be a 3 if they even tried to make it look like Vegas somewhat. Average rating 3 stars makes sense. Now, I think the Letterboxd comments on this film are better than the actual film, and I can't actually mention them due to this being a family podcast, but every single one did mention how they would let Colin Farrell crack them like a glow stick. Jesus Christ, what are these people doing? When should you light up? I think you should light up as soon as the title card scene hits. You'll see Toni and then probably be high enough that when Dave Franco and McLovin come onto the screen, you'll be committed enough to just finish the film. How Vegas is this film? This film is very New Mexico. Thank you for listening. Join us next Monday at 4:20 where we cover Ocean's 11 by Steven Soderbergh and Cut. We're literally smoking and talking about movies.